Hi there, my name is Jane and this is Loopy Mabel Crochet. Today's vlog is a tutorial on my latest design, the one I'm wearing, this lovely rustic t-shirt style, and I'm going to do a full step-by-step tutorial with you. So hi, welcome back. Just before I go over to the overhead camera, let's just go through a few details that you often ask me. All my tutorials are in UK terms, so if you're watching from outside the United Kingdom, say in the US, then when I say treble it would be double crochet. If I say double crochet it would be single crochet, so just be aware of that, but the stitches are all the same. So the size that I am making today on the tutorial is for this one I'm wearing, and it's for medium up to 38 bust. I have full range of different sizes in my PDF pattern, which you can download for a few pennies in my shop. I'll put the link for that in the box below. So without further ado, let's head on over to the camera. Okay, so let's do some crochet. For today's tutorial, we're going to be using a 5mm hook. You need some scissors, your darning needle obviously to sew in your ends at the end, stitch markers. I always recommend you use your stitch markers for the beginning and the ends of your rows, especially if you're new to crochet, and then you'll never miss those stitches that can easily be missed at the end of each row. So grab a couple of them, and I'm using some Aran weight yarn and approximately 400 grams we're going to be using in today's tutorial. Okay, so let's get going. So let's take our yarn and we're going to start off with our slip knot. Work your slip knot whichever way you're familiar with. I do have a tutorial for that if you need to refresh or refer. Okay, and we're going to chain 91. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and we're going to continue till we've got 91 chains. So if you want to work your way along, so pause the video and I'll see you when you've got 91 chains on your hook. So I've got 91 stitches now, so you should have something looking a little bit like that. And what we're going to do into the 5th chain from our hook, so we're going to count back. So obviously this loop on your hook does not count as anything, so we're going to count back 5 chains. Now if you struggle to understand or see what you're looking for, each chain has that V shape and has a little bar which I use to count at the bottom. So you count your bar if you find that easy, or you can count your V's. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we're going to insert our hook into that fifth chain. So there's the bar, can you see? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I'm going to insert it into there. So let's just put our hook back on. Yarn over, insert our hook into that 5th stitch. Yarn over, pull through. You've got 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2, and we've worked a treble or double crochet if you're watching from the US. And we're going to go back down into that very same stitch and work another treble. So insert your hook back down into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to go back down into that same stitch again and do 2 more trebles. So yarn over, insert your hook, same stitch, and work 2 more trebles. There's 1, same stitch. So in total into that stitch we've worked 2 trebles, we've chained 1 and 2 trebles. We're going to skip 3 stitches, so count your bars or your V's. So 1, 2, 3, there's your bar at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and we'll go down into the next. So skip 3, 1, 2, 3, insert your hook down into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and you've created your treble. And we're just going to go down into that same stitch, exact same stitch insert your hook and work another treble, or double crochet if you're watching from the US, and then chain 1, and then we're going to go down, back down into that very same stitch and work 2 more trebles. So back down and work your 2 trebles. So in total, in the same stitch, we're doing 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles. So it should look something like this, and we're just going to repeat this all the way along to the end. So we're going to skip 3 now, 1, 2 and 3, into that next one, yarn over, work 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles. Just going to insert my hook. So 2 trebles into that same stitch, chain 1, yarn over, pull through, back down into the same stitch and work 2 more trebles. So if I leave you to work all the way to the end of this row, so we're going to skip 3, in the next stitch we're going to do 2 treble, chain 1, 2 treble, skip 3, then 2 treble, chain 1, 2 treble, pause the video, work all the way along, and I shall see you somewhere around about here towards the end, and I'll show you how to finish off this first row. Going to the last section now, so skip next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, insert your hook and work your 2 trebles, chain 1 and 2 trebles, all in that same stitch, and we should be left with our last 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Skip the next stitch and down into the last stitch, insert your hook into that very last chain and work 1 treble. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you've completed your first row. So it should look something like this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do this for every row, and that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So chain 1 and turn your work, and down into that very first stitch that we did, we're going to insert our hook and work a treble. So insert your hook into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to insert our stitch marker through that first stitch, and then we'll never lose that stitch when we come to the other end. And we're just going to repeat this row. It's so simple, this pattern. So we're just going to go now and work 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles, but we're going to be working into that chain 1 space, not in that gap, but in the chain 1 space in between the 2 trebles and the chain 1 and the 2 trebles that we did, in between the cluster there, into there. Don't get confused and go into there. We're going to be working in that space there. So insert your hook into that space and work 2 trebles, chain 1, and insert your hook down into that same space and work 2 more trebles. Like so. And we're going to work down into that next chain space. Not that gap, because that is just a gap, into that chain space. So work into that space there. So insert your hook and work 2 trebles, chain 1, back down, and 2 more trebles, and we're just going to repeat this all the way to the end. So we're just going to do this all the way to the end, working into the chain space, not that gap, into the chain space. You should always have 2 trebles either side of where you're inserting your hook, and we're just going to work 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles into every chain space all the way along, and you'll come to the end of the row. You work your 2 trebles, chain space, 2 trebles into that last section, and sorry, I should have put a stitch marker into that very first chain that we turned on, the top of the chain, so we mustn't miss that out, sorry about that. And when we come to, we do our 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles, and then into that chain, stitch there, work our last single treble. But if you want to work all the way along to somewhere around about here, I'll come back on and just show you exactly what I mean for that last stitch, and then I'll tell you what to do for the remainder of this section. Got the last one to do there, so just insert our hook. Finish off with the 2 trebles, and there's our stitch marker. So we just need to insert our hook into that top of the chain there that we first, when we first started our row and we trebled into the 5th chain from the hook, and it created, just on this row only, it just created that chain. So we're just going to insert our hook into the top of that chain there. So yarn over, insert your hook into the top of that chain there, pull through, just work a treble, and that just finishes off the row. So we're always going to start with 1 treble, and we're always going to end with 1 treble, or double crochet if you're watching from the US. And on every row we're going to chain 1 and turn, which doesn't count as anything, that chain 1. And again we're going to start each row off into that, down into that first stitch there, the top of that first treble that we did, insert your hook and work another treble. So we always do that at the beginning of each row. Insert your stitch marker, so we know we're going to finish off in that stitch, and we're just going to work all the way along. So I'll just show you into the next chain space and work our 2 trebles, chain 1, then back down and do 2 trebles. And we're going to do this all the way along like we've just done in the previous row, all the way along into the chain space, not that gap. Don't be tempted to go in that gap. We're not working into that at all, we're working into the chain space. You know, we did 2 trebles and a chain 1, 2 trebles, that chain 1 created a chain space, we're working into there, and we're going to do our 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles, all the way along, and then finish off with your 2 trebles, chain 1, 2 trebles in the last chain space, and then always insert your hook where your stitch marker is and put your last single treble into that stitch. Every row, chain 1, turn, and then again treble into the top of that stitch, put your stitch marker in, and then work your pattern all the way along. And we're just going to repeat this all the way along for a total of 36 rows. So we've done 1 and 2, you can see the rows, so we'll continue just exactly the same, no shaping, for 36 rows. So I shall leave you continue, and I shall see you somewhere towards the end of that 36 row, and then we'll go on to do a little bit of a different pattern and then do some neck shaping. So I shall see you then. Okay, so I'm just at the end of row 36, so I'm just going to finish off with my last treble there in that cluster, and then I've got 1 more to add on the end. So your work should look something like this. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work half trebles into every stitch but not the chain space. So let's do a half treble, which is yarn over, insert your hook into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Obviously if you're watching from the US, it will be a half double crochet, and we're going to work half trebles into the tops of the trebles from the previous row but not the chain space. So yarn over, insert your hook into the top of that first treble and work your half treble, and again into the top of the next one, half treble. We're going to ignore that chain space and we're going to work into the top of the next treble, work our half treble, and again into the next one. And we're just going to repeat this all the way along, so just working into the tops of the trebles. Not the chain space, so just the trebles. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Just like that. We're going to continue this all the way to the end of this row. So work half trebles into every treble, and I shall see you somewhere towards the end of this row. So I'm just coming to the end of this row, just working half trebles into the tops of all the trebles, not the chain space. Don't forget that last one on the end. And then next row we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work a row of trebles. So yarn over, insert your hook down into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So working all the way along. With your trebles. So yarn over, insert your hook into the top of that half treble, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Work all the way along to the end, and when we get to the end we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a row of half trebles, and then when we get to the end of that row, chain 1 and turn and do a row of trebles, and we're going to continue on like this, repeating these 2 rows until you get to row 43, and I shall see you when you've completed row 43. Okay, so when you get to the end of row 43, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we are going to work 34 trebles along that row. So I've just got to do another 2. So work 34 trebles. Like so. We're going to stop here. So work 34 trebles, and then we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to start making our neck shaping, and we're going to work a half treble down into that very first stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Now insert your stitch marker here if it helps you, and we're now going to work 2 together. So yarn over, insert your hook down into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, leave that there, yarn over, down into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. So you've got 5 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 5. And we've just worked our decrease. And then we're just going to continue now without any more decreases with your half trebles all the way to the end of this row. So just work to the end. Don't forget to get that last stitch with your half trebles. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work trebles all the way along this row until we get to our last 3 stitches. So work trebles until you get to the last 3 stitches round about here, and then we will do another decrease. So I shall see you when you've worked all the way along until your last 3 trebles. So work till your last 3 stitches, so 1, 2 and 3, and we're now going to work another decrease. So yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, do a part treble, leave 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, and then pull through all 3, and you've done your next decrease. And then we're just going to insert our hook into that last one where our stitch marker is, and work your last treble. And you can see you've got the shaping beginning to form. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to do another decrease. So yarn over, do a half treble into that first stitch, insert your stitch marker, and then we do a next decrease. So yarn over, leave it there, yarn over down into the next, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through all 5, and then continue to the end with half trebles. And just work to the end, working your last half treble into that last stitch, and we're going to cut the yarn here and we're going to fasten off, so pull the yarn through, and that completes the shaping for the first side of the neck. So your work should look something like this. So we've got 31 stitches on this side. Right, so we've got right side facing again, and we've got our decrease neck side on our right hand side, and we're going to pick up our stitch from here. So we need to pick up stitch 34 from the end. So you just need to count back 34 stitches from the end. So count back 34 stitches. So there's stitch 34. I'm just going to rejoin the yarn and just chain 1. I'm just going to work our treble down into that first stitch. Insert your stitch marker, and then just work your trebles all the way along this row. I'm just going to work over the end of my yarn there. So just work your trebles all the way along, and then we're going to repeat on the other side and do our neck decrease after we've done this row, and that's going to be for 3 rows of decrease, just like we did on the other side of the neck, working your 2 half trebles together or your 2 trebles together until you have 31 stitches left, and then we're going to fasten off. So I'll leave you to complete the shaping on this side of the neck, and then we will go on to the next stage. Okay, so we've completed the front, and the back is exactly the same as the front. They're both identical, so you just need to repeat exactly what you did for the front. And if you need a reminder, all you need to do is rewind the video to the beginning. I'll put the time mark for you at the bottom of the screen. Just rewind back to there and then just repeat it all again. And then when you've completed both the front and the back, you should have your 2 pieces like this. And all we're going to do is pin the shoulder seams like I've done there, and we're just going to sew our shoulder seams from there and again on this side. Just need to thread your yarn onto your darning needle, and we're just going to match up our stitches so you can see the V stitches on both sides. So all you're going to do is sew through them both. So if you just want to thread your yarn through like so, and I'm just going to work over the tails of my yarn that I had from when I fastened it off. So just anchor your yarn there, and I'm just going to overstitch and just go through each of those V stitches along the top. So pick up the V stitch on that one and then again on the opposite. When you get to the end, just make sure you're matching up your stitches at the end. I'm just going to secure my ends, just go back over a couple of stitches before I trim off my yarn. And then you do exactly the same on this side, and then when you turn it over to the right side, you should have a lovely neat shoulder seam. So do exactly the same on the other side, and then all we're going to do is then sew the side seams. Now the side seams, it's entirely up to you how deep you want your armhole. I quite like a deep armhole, so I'm just going to stitch it to somewhere where I think it's going to suit me. So all you need to do is pop your t-shirt on, decide where you want your armholes to start, pop a pin in, then take it off, and then just stitch your sides just the same as you did your shoulders. and that's it, your t-shirt will be complete. So hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and hope I've inspired you to have a go at making one of my boxy crochet t-shirts. I'll pop some pictures up of me wearing it in the garden just to give you an idea of what it looks like when it's complete. And if you like to follow along all my tutorials and you haven't already subscribed, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much if you support my channel by buying me a virtual coffee. All tips will be greatly ploughed back into my channel so I can buy lots more wool and create more crochet tutorials for you guys. Thank you so much in advance, but no pressure. I've got lots more crochet designs coming your way, so stay tuned. Until the next time, as I always say, practice makes perfect, and happy crochet.